Well, the Trump administration's recent order calling for a freeze on all federal loans and grants has led to confusion and anger across the country, specifically among nonprofits who rely on those federal dollars to provide services.
The memo was blocked by a federal judge and has since been rescinded now by the Trump administration.
But as Northern News Now's Ryan Hayes explains, some local nonprofits say they're still uneasy about the move.
It's cruel, it's reckless, and it's caused really unnecessary disruption.
President and CEO of the Duluth YMCA, Sarah Cole, joined Governor Tim Walz and Senator Amy Klobuchar in criticizing President Trump's recent moves on federal grants and loans.
Have equal access to services, to resources, and that we celebrate and welcome everyone. That's not something that we're ever going to change.
The memo announced this week required all federal agencies to review assistance programs to ensure they were compliant with the Trump administration's policies, specifically his executive orders to roll back DEI and other programs viewed as wasteful spending.
I think that the impact of edicts like these is confusion and chaos and, frankly, cruelty toward the people and institutions that benefit from federal resources.
Cole says even a temporary pause would impact meal and care services and would hurt AmeriCorps, which runs through the Y. Another local nonprofit that depends on federal dollars is the Family Freedom Center.
People coming in to help teach our youth and young adults.
Their nonprofit creates programs specifically to support BIPOC families in Duluth. Executive Director Jacob Aaron Bell says it's been a long 48 hours, but he says he has no worries about the future of the program.
We have a strong people power here at Family Freedom Center. I think our families, our youth, even our elders in our community, they're going to show up to make sure that these programs continue.
In Duluth, Ryan Hayes, Northern News Now.